To pray, there's no angels where I go, only pieces that are broken, scattered dreams across the floor. I'm home.
Alrighty, hello everybody. This is Kira's show here. Now, whenever we last left off, Kendo and Midoriya had just been talking. Along with that, they were at least a bit more happy about the fact that there are no more secrets between them. She knows about One For All, the healing vial, and, well, that's all he really tried keeping secret. Along with that, she is at least a bit more happy that, apparently, with these new quirks, she can try and at least catch up. She did see exactly what happened during the whole events with her boyfriend whenever he was fighting against All Might. The look on his face, the way he was moving, and how he handled himself. Now, they would be getting on the bus today. As they would hop on, and as soon as they do so, Midoriya and Kendo are in the back. Them being the first ones on and actually starting to whisper in between each other a bit. As people would at least take notice to this. Whenever they are on the bus, Kendo is trying to think of a good way to try and explain this new sudden burst in her quirk. Her other quirks. Midoriya is saying that she could try and show it off right now. Or she could try and bring up a topic about if anyone has noticed their quirks get stronger or more versatile. Ask that to Sue if she asks a question about my quirk. She's probably going to anyway. What do you mean? She asked me the same question about, well, my enhancement ability back on the bus during the USJ, don't you remember? That was a very busy day. Yeah, sorry. Now, that would be what they were whispering about. As they would have just put in a pair of headphones, we'll share one, and then just listen to some music. Along with actually talk with people who are asking questions. And, well, just over general topics. As eventually, I'm not sure how long the bus ride was there, so I want to say around 3 or 4 hours, I might be wrong. Do not quote me on that. They would be talking about anything weird about anyone else's quirks. Todoroki bringing up the fact that his body does feel a bit different. Usually whenever he only used his ice ability, he did notice that he always had to, well, shower at a certain level. But he's actually had to start changing that. Basically something stupid. While you have Uraka, who basically explained that she doesn't get that weird feeling in her ears sometimes. She's been getting better at that. Kirishima and everyone else beginning to talk more. As eventually Kendo would just do one thing, telling everyone that that's actually really interesting. But you wanna know what my quirks did? Everyone a bit confused. Her throwing her hand up and immediately just elongating her entire arm. Everyone a bit shocked and surprised as Aizawa would turn around and open his eyes. Her arm immediately shooting backwards and going directly back to its resting point. Her feeling the recoil, and, well, actually hitting the seat. Him telling her to not use her quirk? Wait a minute. That wasn't... So you do get stronger. Yeah, I actually have been trying to figure things out. Whenever me and Midoriya do train, we kinda keep secrets about what we can do with our quirks. Her just explained that she wanted to show this off during the final exams. And that she thought that would have been her chance. Then at the island, she wanted to show it off too, but yeah. That was whenever she was still trying to test it, and she didn't want to put anyone's lives on the line if she couldn't use an ability properly. Aizawa accepting this excuse because it is very valid, in his eyes. Pun intended. Anyways, now, with that being said, they would have gotten off the bus. And, well, also we would be asking the question. Her just asking exactly how does that happen? Or, well, that thing, how does her quirk even work? Her just explained that whenever she got it re-diagnosed, lying to them, that apparently it works somewhat like Mount Ladies. Then again, it also does work like that. I believe it's Kamari Woods, kind of. I think. I guess it works somewhat like both of theirs together, actually. That's pretty interesting. Now, with that being said, she would have walked over and joined Midoriya. Him just looking at the view. And thinking that this is actually going to be really interesting. Then again, why are they going to be at a camp for 2 weeks? Her just walking up to him, tapping him on the arm and asking him what he's thinking about. Him explaining his thoughts, and her just saying that doesn't sound right. If Mr. Aizawa is with us, then, well, he's either here to supervise us or the wild Pussycats pulling up. And Midoriya turning and seeing them immediately. He does recognize all of them, because he did study some of their quirks, along with actually looking outwards into the forest and trying to look closer. Him actually noticing that something down there is moving around. So, this isn't just a camping trip. Midoriya turning on full cowling and getting ready. The Pussycats a bit confused at what this kid's doing as he would just jump down and go smashing into the forest. Everyone hearing Midoriya jump off of trees and actually break through some of these monsters, as one of them will come flying out of the forest and then get pulled back in by Black Whip, being swung around and crashing through more. I believe it was Mandalay, I think her name was. I don't remember which members of the Pussycats it was, but whoever has that range quirk, yeah, they can feel that power. Along with that, they're actually a bit more surprised. How did the kid figure it out? Now, with that being said, she would just explain that they were going to, well, surprise them, but I guess this is a good chance to say, go catch up. Time has already started. For those of you who do not get there in 2 hours, then you will not be getting any food. Everyone a bit surprised. Kirishima jumping down and hardening his skin. Bakugo actually blasting straight forwards as much as he can. Along with Todoroki at least thinking that he can make an ice bath down, and then, well, that should work for everyone. Now, that would have been too slow. The member of the Pussycats creating an avalanche, and speeding up the process. Now, with that being said, this is whenever Midoriya would have already begun to bash through a lot of them, as he does hear one thing. He hears something on his left, immediately just dodging it and looking at it, as he would be able to smash his hand upwards into the golem, while another one does try and sneak up behind Midoriya, as he would turn around and go to block its punch, or its attack, as a large fist would come barreling in and directly smash it into it, and continue flying directly through more and more trees. Kendo actually beginning to enlarge her body, her clothes tearing away to reveal what's underneath the suit. Now, everyone would have been a bit more surprised about this, along with Aizawa actually a bit more confused, and, well, surprised, wanting to call up All Might and ask him a question, along with Principal Nezu. Then again, big hands. That does explain something. Then again, that stretching thing. Well, it does make sense. In order for her hands to grow that large, she must have excess skin around her body. Otherwise, if she didn't, that would probably be a very, very gruesome way to die. Now, with that being said, she would just begin by telling everyone in Class 1A to try and hold on, or to just get on, and she can run straight through. As a lot of them would at least try and, well, make their way up to her. Her basically just holding out her hand and beginning to charge through, stomping through and actually smashing through quite a bit of robots. As eventually, the Pussycats would have actually stuck around. The one that's created the, well, creatures in the first place, begins to create something else. Create something fitting of that girl's size to fight. As whenever she does create it, it would have immediately run forwards and go for Kendo. As soon as Ito or anyone else would alert her, Todoroki, who's, well, at least on her shoulder, would have tried throwing out as much ice as possible, and actually try and help her. While you do have Bakugo below, who is still blasting through the forest, trying to catch up. Him pissed off. Why is everyone helping each other? You're supposed to be pros, that's how this works. You're supposed to do this on your own, that's how this works. Now, eventually Bakugo would have come in, blasting up as high as he can, as he actually does get nearby or close into the face to try and throw out his own arm, and charging upwards explosions in his palm, before releasing it, being sent flying in the opposite direction. Him actually aiming the opposite way where he jumped from, meaning that he just blasted himself closer to, well, where they need to go. Midoriya is still jumping through and actually breaking through quite a lot of these things. As eventually, after a fun 1 hour, Midoriya would have arrived. Actually laughing a bit, as he is at least battle damaged. Basically the classic anime lines. Anyways, now, with that being said, this is whenever Bakugo would have arrived last. Kendo actually arriving and setting everyone down. The fight that was, well, taking place, just to take that giant thing down, was annoying. Todoroki actually helped, which kind of surprised everyone. He was more of a loner type, but I guess he even knew that this was something that needed to happen. The Pussycats telling them that everyone has done well, and that they will all be provided with cooking material. Except for this young man right here, Bakugo being told to step forwards. Him being out of the 2-hour time frame. In fact, he was around 2 hours, 15 minutes, and 37 seconds, while Midoriya was twice as fast as him, and the rest of the UA, or Class 1A, was very close behind Midoriya, since they basically used Kendo as a mobile station. Anytime they need to use their quirks, they can work together, and actually being a well-oiled unit is the best way to say. Now, with that being said, this is whenever everyone will begin to cook, and the next day they would all be training, beginning to actually work more and more on their own abilities, while Kendo's whole task is to basically enlarge her arms and her hands, and see exactly how far she can try and stretch them, or to enlarge her own body and do this process. Her actually doing a bit, but, well, whenever she is in this giant mode, it's a bit weird, since trying to enlarge your own hands, or even elongate them, if that's the right word, is a lot more challenging. since it is pushing the body's physical limitation, beginning to actually force it, if you will. Her actually having to shrink back down and just elongate her hands. Being told by Aizawa that if she does come up with anything good, she can create a good special move using this. In fact, it does seem similar to his capture scarf. So please do keep that in mind. Midoriya's training actually being a bit odd. Him and Ojiro do fight, working on tactics and basically doing all that. Kirishima joining in. Basically a 1v1 situation. Now, that would have actually been a bit more interesting. Deku, anytime he needs to, he basically uses one for all on one of his arms, being able to block and fight against Kirishima with one hand, while he does face off against Ojiro with his other one. Being able to use techniques, but he basically uses power against Kirishima, basically taking most of his focus away from him. Now, Bakugo's training is a bit more, well, he's just going harder at it, and more intensely. He understands exactly how far behind he is from everyone else, and that's just starting to piss him off more. As after this time, eventually Bakugo would have tried challenging Deku to a rematch. Everyone telling Bakugo to not do that, and that they were supposed to do that test of courage thing tonight. Now, after that does happen, basically after Kirishima does talk Bakugo down, things would have been a bit more interesting. For the test of courage, they would have all walked out. Deku and Kendo walking to the forest first. Since Bakugo tried to call him out on being a, well, little bitch. Now, with that being said, this would be where Deku and Kendo are walking through, having a bit of fun as they would have gotten a bit further into it where 1B does try and scare them. The only thing that does actually scare Midoriya is that grape-haired guy, who is, if he remembers correctly, the guy who called his mom a MILF during the sports festival, and he wanted to wring his fucking neck. Yeah, he does remember that guy. In fact, the guy pissed him off a lot that he wanted to have a bit of a talk with him after the sports festival. But apparently, he was joking. Yeah. Ibara was at least the one to try and keep him in line, and tell him that he should have apologized. Now, that would have actually been the best way that I can introduce Mineta, and I am not sorry for it, since I know someone is probably laughing their ass off right now. Mineta has been in Class 1B the whole time, slowly being forgotten about. Anyways, now, this is whenever there would be a loud sound, and things would begin to get a bit crazy. There is a fire burning in the distance. Kendo actually enlarging her head and basically elongating it, looking upwards and looking around. Yeah, that's a fire. Along with that, she just begins to think. There's, well, multiple different ways that they can go about this, as the Pussycats would begin to broadcast that message in everyone's head. That Koda is missing and he is in the forest. Deku looking at Kendo along with the fact that they do know villains are here, so they should split up. Now, Midoriya and Kendo would split up, her heading deeper to try and find more Class 1B members, while for Midoriya, he would just begin to jump through the trees. And whenever one's high enough, he does actually swing up there, and try to get a good vantage point with Black Whip. Beginning to look around and seeing somewhere around a cliff's edge, and heading that way. Whenever he does see Koda, this is whenever he would have landed, telling the kid that they need to get out of here and that it's not safe, asking what is he even doing over here, beginning to walk his way. Koda turning around and looking at him, with a bit of fear in his eyes. Midoriya kinda confused. Well, this is actually a kid, so never mind. It makes sense to be scared. Him actually just grabbing Koda and the two running off. Muscular jumping in, as he would have gone to try and mess with Midoriya, going to punch the kid as Deku would have jumped in the way, actually bringing up his hands and being able to sweep Muscular's away, as he would throw up his other one and smash him across the face with around 60 to 70%, being able to send Muscular flying backwards, sending this mask flying off along with his hood, as it would be announced that Muscular is here, and that Koda does recognize the man's face, him being the man who murdered his parents. Wait, is this kid Batman? Ironic. Anyways, now, with that being said, this is whenever Deku would have seen him, Koda beginning to cry as he would just rush forwards, and begin to create those muscle fibers, telling the guy to get out of the way, his business is just with the kid. Midoriya is just throwing out another 70% punch, smashing into Muscular and being surprised that he blocked the actual hit. And he does get sent flying into a wall, Deku getting back up and throwing out Black Whip. Muscular just beginning by grabbing it out of the air and beginning to pull on it, Midoriya trying to keep his footing. The guy just explaining that he's heard quite a lot about him, and the way he's a reckless kid during the sports festival. You're one of those hero types who seek fame, aren't you? Should have known. However, you are very powerful, and I think the boss did at least want you, and a few others. By the way, you know what I find Bakugo Katsuki? That kid has got such a fiery persona that I think it would be very easy to get him on our side. Good luck, asshole. Deku just looking at Muscular, still holding Black Whip as he would release it. As he would just say that guy, he might act like a villain, is an asshole, is arrogant. Well, actually, the list just goes on and on. But if you think he's just going to turn on you because he hates people, then you're wrong. In fact, Midoriya turning on full howling, his shirt ripping away immediately, since this is a normal piece of clothing. And he would just turn himself up higher. 70%, 75, 80, 85. Okay, well, let's hope this works. Deku rushing forwards, and punching 85% directly into Muscular's gut. Muscular just telling the kid that he needs to try harder. Midoriya is beginning to try and attack Muscular, throwing a flurry of punches and actually doing everything he can. Koda kinda surprised as Deku would have actually had to throw out 100%, smashing into Muscular and actually breaking his arm. As he would have gotten back up and began to heavily pant, along with the fact that he is beginning to get a nosebleed. And, well, the gash across his forehead isn't doing any better. As he would tell Koda to run. He can take care of this guy because he knows for sure that he's not down. In fact, he might actually have to, as Muscular would get back up, telling the kid that was actually a very solid punch. He actually felt that. Rushing directly forwards. Midoriya actually just jumping directly in front of Koda again and throwing out his left arm this time. Smashing it again as he actually does hold back Muscular's attack. Muscular beginning to engulf his arm. Midoriya just screaming at Koda to run. Go get a Razorhead. Go get Aizawa. Go get anyone. Koda basically taking off, with tears in his eyes. Midoriya at least watching that as he does smirk a bit. Thinking that he at least got the kid out of here. Good. Now for this guy. As he would go to throw out his other hand, it's immediately being sucked in too, as he would just begin to, well, lose. Midoriya thinking that these are going to be his final moments, along with the fact that he can feel his arms being crushed. And the force behind them is beginning to actually hurt. A lot. Even more than just breaking one of his arms normally. As he would just begin to hear something. The users of One for All, telling him that this power has been passed on for generations, and that he really should believe in it more. You're giving it your all 100%. Yes, that's perfectly fine. But you must go beyond that. Midoriya's eyes begin to glow with electricity, and burn with them. His hair standing up on each individual end, and he would just begin by throwing his arms out, tearing away the muscle around Muscular's arms. Him actually screaming out in pain as that actually did tear through part of his arms, without the muscle on them. Midoriya actually just looking forwards and looking directly at Muscular, presenting him with 1,000,000% full cowling. Rushing forwards immediately. Deku just throwing on his left arm as he would send Muscular flying with a punch. Him stepping off his own leg and rushing forwards. Everyone in the forest can hear this. Along with the fact that seeing that amount of force being blown in every single direction is actually knocking away a lot of trees. It's even caught the local hero's attention in the next city over. Along with Midoriya stepping off again and smashing directly into Muscular, being able to go up into the air and actually smash downwards with his other leg. As Midoriya would have just dropped down to the ground. His body still coursing electricity, but as he's falling, he is thinking, What was that? That power. That was more than normal. Am I just that strong? Midoriya beginning to get closer and closer to the ground. Him actually smirking. As he does get pulled out of midair by Kendo. Her just telling him that now is not a very good time to, as he does get a closer look at him. Midoriya actually unable to even move his arms. As whenever he does try and get onto his legs, there is a lot more trouble. Him barely being able to stand, and actually limping and leaning against Kendo. The two running through, or at least walking, and trying to find the rest of Class 1A. They find Todoroki and Tokoyami, dealing with everything there. As for Bakugo, he has been captured already. In fact, they are trying to find out exactly what's going on. As whenever they finally do arrive at the camp, Midoriya would have tried to turn on One for All. His body giving the respectful fuck no, by not allowing him to use the quirk. And Kendo would just elongate her arm, smashing directly into the lizard guy, and just tell her, run in. Telling the lady that Kendo, Koda is safe. Midoriya made sure of that. Midoriya basically just limping or, well, being carried by the two allies he has with them. And them just saying that they don't know what he did, but, they heard it, right? Everyone looking that direction. As Mr. Compressor come in, saying that they have gotten their, little toys. And they've done exactly as ordered to by the boss. This being a bit confusing. Midori looking to see Mr. Compress, with 2 marbles in hand. Saying that they've gotten everything they need, so it will be fairly easy. Now, a portal would open up, and they would begin to retreat. As over with the Nomu in the forest, they would have been tagged by Momo, who would use her quirk to actually try and help out. Her actually taking a bit of inspiration from another hero, Gunhead, he may have had the right idea with the whole martial arts thing. Uraka, that might be her specialty, but she can at least try a couple moves. Her being able to run in and actually take down the mustard gas villain. Along with, what was his name? Moonfish being taken down by Tokoyami's rampage earlier. Now, Mr. Compressor began to back his way into the portal, telling them ta-ta, and that it was quite fun to be here, but he must leave now. As he would have gone through, Midoriya trying to stand up and actually move that way, running in on his legs, and actually find that they do start to pop and open with blood. Him feeling his muscles just exploding. As he would just run forwards, not even making it 5 to 6 steps, and directly smash into the ground, looking up to at least see the portal close completely. And, well, that being the last thing he sees before his head just hits the ground, and he passes out, screaming one single phrase. He finally lost. He lost. He lost. No. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. And have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.